It's the Locked On Flyers podcast for Tuesday, November 19th, your daily dose of Flyers news, analysis, and high quality content that thinks really maybe should have started to try sooner, but give them a little credit.
Yeah, it was puck possession night for Colorado. That's what it was.
All right, we'll get into it on today's show.
You're Locked On Flyers, your daily podcast on the Philadelphia Flyers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, and thanks for making Locked On Flyers your first listen every day. I am Rachel Donner. I've been podcasting about the Flyers, the NHL, and hockey for a decade. I'm here with prospect expert and Flyers credentialed reporter for 19 years, Russ Cohen. Today's episode is brought to you by Indeed. Still searching for a great candidate for your company? Don't search, just match with Indeed. To keep up with our latest episodes and Flyers news, you can find us at Locked On Flyers on all your favorite social media networks. And of course, here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. It is Phantoms Tuesday. We're going to get into that in the next couple segments. But one of the Phantoms we were talking a lot about was Helge Grans. And he, of course, got the call up to this game. And, you know, given the precarious position of the Flyers blue line right now, injury wise, I think it was really good that he had a pretty solid game.
He did. I mean, he got his first NHL point. The penalty with Makar, that was a good penalty because Makar was going to turn the corner, and you don't know what's going to happen at that point. Obviously, he was close to getting a hat trick anyhow in that game. So
Right.
he was good. He got at least 2 shots on net, maybe more, and he moves the puck well, and he's rangy. He's got long reach, and those are things that other than Sanheim, nobody else has on the Flyers blue line. So that's why it's important to keep him up, I think.
Right. And I think one of the things that we've noticed about his play with the Phantoms that he repeated in this game, I think with some good results, is that he knows when to skate into the offensive zone and go all the
Yeah.
way in deep. But sometimes he takes the long shot hoping for a rebound. And I think he's really good at making those decisions.
Yeah, he's got good instincts. Yeah, the shot's not super fantastic, but it gets on net.
Sure.
Or in one case, it didn't get on net and it caused a big problem. So it led to a goal. So that's good. Yeah, those were good instincts by him. But I like the way he skates. I like the way he moves the puck up the ice. First pass is good. So, I see no reason not to keep him around.
Yeah, I think so. Especially don't know what's going on with Zamula. He seemed to have gotten hurt towards the end of
Yeah.
that game with a big
Well,
hit against the glass.
yeah, here's the thing. There was some of that, but Rich Bradley, who does the scoring, pointed out to me that not counting the third period, in the previous 5 periods, the Flyers have blocked 48 shots. Guys are not going to survive this. Like, it's
No,
great
and
that they have the heart and the wherewithal to do it, but you can't keep this up the whole year.
yeah, and we talked specifically in our preview of this game was that the Flyers were going to take a shot blocking strategy
Yeah.
because, as far as the Avs are concerned, they're, a high shooting team with quality shots. And Flyers wound up with 26 blocked shots on this game, which is high.
That's high.
And I think, again, just something to keep an eye on with the wear and tear on these guys. I said in the intro, it was good to see them make a game of it in
Hmm.
the third period. And this team just does not give up
No, they don't give
ever.
up.
And I
That's
love
for
that.
sure. Yeah. I mean, it's a great, thing to have, team unity and all that. That part's legit. Uh, you have to bury a 2-on-1 when the guy doesn't have the stick. I don't know what the hell's going on there, but come on. Basically, you're supposed to go to the guy who doesn't have the stick and then do a cross ice pass to the other, just, a little pass to the other guy who would be 1-on-0. I'm the goalie. And it didn't happen.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
those are little things that add up. Now, look, they got a goal taken away from Makar, but Makar was interesting post game because they knew the Flyers were going to have this shot blocking strategy, so it didn't surprise them. They knew they were good around the net, but Makar was figuring things out, and Kolosov had a good game. There was nothing that was his fault. But Makar, if that other goal didn't count, basically his second goal, he shot slow on purpose. He did it so it would kind of glide through. But on the other ones, he was shooting from a distance and just picking it over Kolosov's shoulder because he knew that middle area, because guys are going down for shots, it was going to be available up top. Now, there are very few guys in the league that could do that regularly, but he's one of them.
Yeah, absolutely. He had a really fantastic game.
He did.
I think, as far as on the Flyers side of things, there were definitely too many penalties at inopportune times.
Yes.
And I think that is something that is you can point to in this game specifically. There was at least 2 power play opportunities that were taken away from them by not great penalties here. I think that, one of the interesting things about this game as well was Owen Tippett, right?
Yeah.
Not getting that opportunity, with the missing.
Yeah.
And it was really good that he scored. He needed
It was.
desperately, but also he had multiple other chances, including on that 6 on
Oh, he shot one in center field. Like, it was just crazy how high he shot one of those. So, yeah, you see if the goal kind of helps him. I do want to just say, because otherwise we may forget, I don't know the referee's name who was stretchered out, but he is able to move his extremities. And so it is some sort of back injury, but we're all hoping that he has a quick recovery. It was tough.
Yeah, I did have that on the list. It's Mitch Denning,
Okay.
and yes, very good to hear that he was doing well in the hospital, and he was mostly there for precautionary reasons.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was very, very scary.
It was like, that was just wow. And it's hard. Like, it's hard to pick up a game after that for both teams. It is.
Right.
So I give the guys credit for just like kind of soldiering on, all the guys.
Absolutely. Yeah. It definitely took, like, I would say, a good 3 to 4 minutes before it felt
Yeah.
like the game was at pace again.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, as far as, other players on the Flyers, I think, Travis Sanheim, we've been concerned about his minutes for a while now. 3107.
I mean, it's not an overtime game. It's just too much. It
Right.
is.
They were double shifting him and putting him in
Yes.
with Sealer instead of
Yeah.
having Johnson out there for
Yeah.
a good portion of the time. And like it was obvious that he was being overused in this game.
Yeah.
But he played great. That's the thing.
No, he did. I mean, look, he got shots on net. He made that one great stop that was
Oh,
a puck
yeah.
that was going right in. So no, he played a terrific game, but this is just not sustainable. And that's why you have to get somebody else in instead of Eric Johnson, because against a team like Colorado, he's just overmatched.
Yeah, I think so. Matvey Michkov, I think, he's playing with a little bit of desperation right now. I
Yeah, it
would
was an
say.
odd game. I think desperation is the right way to say it, because look, he tried that side shot and it wasn't going to go in, but it was good that he got a shot on net.
It looked pretty.
Yeah, it looked pretty, but he didn't fool Annunen on that. But it's good that he got the shot on net. But yeah, there was just other points in the game he just wasn't able to do what he wanted to do. And, he was at one point he did think there was a penalty against him, and it wasn't. It was against Forster that time. But I don't know. I think he is struggling a little bit. Even though he's got points, I think some of those other parts of the game, there is a little bit of a struggle.
Right, and that's really what it is. It's the other parts of the game. I think he is dealing well from like a you just get back up again and keep going
Right.
perspective from the physicality. But I think it is wearing on him a little bit. And there was 1 or 2 times where I thought he was a little slow to
Yeah.
get back up, where he's just like, man, what do I got to do out here?
Yeah.
And I don't think that it's anything necessarily to be worried about.
No,
per
I'm not
se.
worried about it.
I think it's just something like in this game in particular, I noticed, and I don't think he liked the taking the penalty, against Valerie Nishushkin. I don't think
Right.
that was really what he wanted out of that, especially
No.
again, given the timing. But yeah, I just felt like there was this weird air of desperation in his game. Uh, Against the Avs, but the Avs are a good team despite their record, and we saw a lot of that there.
Yeah, I do want to point something out. Now, Sean Couturier was having a pretty good night on faceoffs. He was. But that point when it's at the end of the game and you have an offensive zone faceoff with like 20 seconds to go, I would rather have Morgan Frost in there on the faceoff, because Sean Couturier, when he doesn't win the faceoff, he's completely out of the play. And Frost is a lot more mobile and everything else. And you saw once he lost that faceoff, like that was it. They never got the puck back. That's where they miss Morgan Frost. He may not be scoring, but it's those other little things, and I feel like he has to get back on the lineup.
Yeah, Ryan Poehling was
He
pretty
struggled.
bad on the faceoff dot in this game.
Yeah, 20% at one point.
2 and 6, so 2 for 8, I guess.
2 for 8, yes. Yeah, they stopped using him on faceoffs. They just stopped. Yep. But he also, there was a point, I want to say in the third period, where there was a puck where you're supposed to skate through it to get it, and he just sort of reached. And it's like, yeah, they need better than that. And that's where, look, Poehling had a good year last year. They've moved him up too high in the lineup. And when Frost isn't there, they're trying to cover for what Frost gives them. I mean, that's just the way I see it.
Yeah, it was a really interesting game, and I don't necessarily think it was a bad loss per se, just because
the first 2 periods were bad. Like they rebounded in the third, so they at least got it together and made it close. So in that regard, yeah, they could walk out of there feeling pretty good, but they can't have a game go like that again against the Carolina, or they're going to lose 5-2 against them. They're even better.
Yeah. I just feel like it was good experience for this team to play against a team like the Avs. And they probably can learn a lot and make some really good adjustments based on how this game went. So I'm not mad about it in the grand
No, but I'm a little worried about some of the injured players. Like,
yes, that's the more pressing issue.
I mean, Cam York went on the trip, so I was kind of like assuming he'd be back in, and he's not. If he doesn't get back in another game or so, I'm kind of worried about him. We'll see if he gets in. And Andre, they're just not saying. Like, I don't know what's going on.
Right. So, well, we'll check in on them on the Wednesday show. In the meantime, it is Phantoms Tuesday, so we are going to check in with our guys down in Lehigh Valley coming up next. We're driven by the search for better, but when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. One of the things I love about Indeed is that it makes hiring all in one place so easy because you could avoid busy work. You can use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with those candidates faster. And Indeed doesn't just help you hire faster. 93% of employers agree Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent Indeed survey. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences, so the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Listeners of Locked On Flyers will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/lockedon. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on Locked On Flyers. That's Indeed.com/lockedon. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed. On tomorrow's show, we will be talking a little bit about the Carolina Hurricanes. Going to see them again. Plus, we're going to answer your mailbag questions. So get those in. You can email us at lockedonflyers@gmail.com. Send us a message on any of our socials at lockedonflyers, or comment on our YouTube channel. Phantoms Tuesday. Always love talking about our AHL affiliate. Unfortunately, though, this week, a little bit of a struggle for them. And they started off the week strong with a 4-3 overtime win versus Wilkes-Barre Scranton, but then lost 2 in a row to Springfield and Hershey. And I think that, looking at the standings, they're down a slot. It's one of those interesting things because last week we talked a lot about how finding ways to win was important, even if it was ugly.
Right.
Some of these were ugly, but they did not find a way to win. Right.
Yeah. It doesn't always work. I looked at things, and there's 2 things that stand out to me. They're not scoring enough goals, and the goaltending's not good enough. And
Right.
we don't know if Kolosov will even be back in Lehigh this year. Like, because there's still this talk like, hey, if he doesn't get in games, he still could go back to Minsk. So that's always going to be hanging over. So what they have is what they have. Like, that's all we could talk about. And right now, what they have isn't great.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're doing the best they can, but the best they can isn't necessarily good enough in
No,
terms of finding ways to win and stealing games, right?
right.
I think that the skaters have to do a better job of
They
supporting
do.
the goaltending at this point. Now, the biggest update related to goaltending this week for the Phantoms is that Eetu Makiniemi left Saturday's game versus Hershey halfway through the second period with an injury. It was on a goal scoring play by Hershey that put them ahead. But you could see it's very clear that his legs went in places they should not have gone. And my
Right.
guess is that it's a groin or a knee issue, but
Yeah.
to be determined on that front. So Cal Peterson came into that game pretty cold, did the best that he could, especially having played the night before. So, in some ways, that Hershey game, the score was 6-3. One of the goals was empty net. There was a very strong comeback effort by the Phantoms in that game. They were down 2 goals, got back into it to make it 3-3. And then things kind of went off the rails when the goaltending change happened. And I think the Phantoms overall kind of gave up. They were also gassed. This was their, third game of the week, second game in a row. But as a result, Parker Gahagan was recalled to the
Right.
Phantoms yesterday. So, right now we're looking at Peterson and Gahagan for the time being, pending how Makiniemi is doing.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm saying. If they were able to just send Kolosov down and he would play, it'd all be
Right.
fine. But it's not.
But they
So,
can't because of Urson.
right, because he's on the IR. So that's true too. Yeah, that's right. So that's right, because he was just put on the IR. So yeah, they're stuck. Like, this is something they're gonna have to get over, but they're not scoring enough goals. Like, that's obvious. You look at their top scorers, and it's not good enough. Like, I think sure, it's nice that Tuomaala has all these assists, but he's a goal scorer. He needs to score more goals, and that's a problem. Not enough guys are doing it.
It is interesting because right now the top Phantoms guys are with the Flyers. So
Hmm.
it's very hard. Now Grans just got called up, so he did
Right.
play with the team this past weekend. But Richard is up with the Flyers, and Emil Andre is hurt, but was up with the Flyers.
Hmm.
So some of the guys that were contributing offensively just were not there this week, and it made a pretty big difference in terms of being able to go above and beyond for the Phantoms this week. I think if you're looking for silver linings here, in terms of even though the record wasn't exactly what you want to see, they did play very hard, and you could see they had multiple comebacks
Hmm.
throughout the weekend, even though 2 of them didn't work in the end. I think that there was a very controversial goal against for the Springfield game where Lappy was absolutely beside himself and actually called out the officiating in the post game because they weren't allowed to do a replay on it,
Mm.
or they chose not to. And it's the nature of the AHL, right?
Right.
That you just don't get those 8 angles and
No,
a full
they don't
video
have the same kind
review.
of cameras, yeah.
But, the goaltender gets barreled into, and it seemed clear that it was the opposing player's fault pushing a Phantoms player into the goaltender, and it wasn't clear if the puck crossed the line before a whistle blew, but it is what it is. That's what Lappy said, and so as a result, Springfield went ahead and they wound up winning that game against the Phantoms, right? And then you have the Hershey game where, like I said, they came back from 2 goals down, made it 3-3. Makiniemi gets hurt, and then things just kind of fell apart after that, especially in the third period. They let 2 goals in. And in that Hershey game, also 3 ex-Phantoms scored against them, which is always a good time when
Always
that
fun.
happens.
But what I do look at is, at the beginning of the year, we said, hey, this is a heavy roster. They got a lot of guys. So even with injuries, they still should be able to, work through this. And it still seems like, now look, guys like Lycksell not playing well enough. There's people not performing well enough. Gendron has 5 goals, but he's not doing much lately. He's getting playing time. So the thing
Yeah.
is, in
Well,
the
we'll get into some of the players in details
yeah,
in the
yeah,
next
yeah. I'm just
segment,
using this
but
as the overall, but in the end, like the overall picture is they're still missing some talent. Even even though some of your talent's up, you still, you still should have a little more talent on the AHL ice. Like that's the whole
yeah,
thing organizationally.
it's really interesting because I think obviously the top talent in the Flyers system isn't in the AHL yet. So we're in this weird middle ground
Right.
with the rebuild and the prospect development where the guys that are the strongest prospects in the system are either in junior or college right now.
Right.
And so the Phantoms are suffering as a result. And so they stacked up on older players like Richard, like
Yeah.
Ekmans, like Abels, right? Those were like the huge signings in terms of who was going to be
Mhm.
the backstop for the Phantoms this year. They're playing okay. It's just not enough when you have other teams that have some of their top prospects playing down in the AHL, and it's like apples and pears here, in terms of the overall
But
look
this
at
is why
things.
it takes a while
Yep.
for when you go from like the draft and expect to stock the NHL team, the AHL one usually gets stocked first. But the thing is, when you are in a rebuild, yeah, there sometimes are some gaps, and that's why there's going to be gaps at the NHL level too. Like this is what happens. I get it.
Yeah, I would say, another good thing that happened is special teams improved a little bit. The PK was perfect for the weekend, and they moved into the top 10 in the league in terms of the
That's
penalty
good.
kill, and that was really good. The power play wasn't as strong offensively. They were 1 for 8 for the weekend. In that Hershey game, they only had 1 opportunity. But
Hmm.
last week, if you recall, we had a problem with some shorthanded goals. They
Yeah.
cut that out. So
So they cut that out, but then they also killed the
they
power
don't
play.
yeah, they also did not score the goals they needed. So I think, a win's a win, right?
Sure.
On that front. But yeah, we do have some individual performances to talk about. Samu Tuomaala, I think, being the most important one in terms of the
Yeah.
prospects that are down there. We're going to talk about him and some of the other guys coming up next.
PrizePicks is the best place to get real money sports action. Join over 10 million users and sign up today. PrizePicks is the best way to win real money this football season. Which players are going off? Which ones aren't? Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your sports opinions into real money all season long on PrizePicks. You can now win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. PrizePicks invented the flex pay, which means you can still cash out of your lineup even if your lineup isn't perfect. You could double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. And PrizePicks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I can get my money in as quick as 15 minutes. Download the app today and use Locked On NHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code Locked On NHL on PrizePicks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. PrizePicks, run your game.
So Samu Tuomaala, Russ,
Yeah.
he had 2 assists on Wednesday, a goal
Hmm.
on Friday, and a goal and 2 assists versus Hershey on Saturday in the loss. So he had like the bulk of the points
Right.
in that loss. He's on a 5-game point streak,
Hmm.
3 goals, 3 assists for 6 points. He's on a 2-game goal streak
Hmm.
so far right now. And it's good, but he can't be the only guy, which is the problem
No.
we were just talking about.
Yeah, if
And
there
I
was
think that
somebody else that was hot, he would probably score more goals. So I get it, but he just somehow he's got to be the top goal guy or at least one of them, and he's almost there.
yeah, I think he's getting there and his scoring is increasing. He's widening the gap between himself and some of the other Phantoms. I
Right?
think it's, looking at him against the rest of the league is something we're going to do like next week, the week
Yeah,
after,
yeah.
and really see where that scoring gap is. But right now in 14 games, he's got 6 goals and 10 assists. So he's more than a point per game so far, but he really should be hovering around between 1.5 and 2 points
Yeah.
in order to like kind of keep pace with where he needs
Or
to
to
be in order.
potentially get a call up at some point. Yeah.
Exactly. In order to take that next step, he needs to be up like just a little bit more from what he is now.
Yes.
But in terms of the plays that he's making, I think they're really strong. I think he's showing some creativity out there. He's getting into open ice where he needs to be, having some really quality shots. So I think he's getting there. He's just like not 100% there yet, where he'd be under consideration for a next call up. Obviously, Helge Grans was our next call up, but he did
Yeah.
get the call up. So now we're looking at some other guys.
And we
on
talked
the
about that
team.
on a couple different episodes. People can go back and listen. Like we've been saying, he should be the guy. We weren't sure
Yep.
if it was going to happen, but finally it's happening. So that's good for him.
Right. Now, Olle Lycksell should be killing it.
He should.
Hasn't quite yet, but he did have a 3-goal game streak going, or 3-game goal streak, I should
Right.
say.
Right.
That got broken on Saturday versus Hershey, but he had an assist in that game. Had a really sweet goal net front on Friday as part of that comeback. A really neat play that kind of went between the legs a little bit. He had the overtime winner against Wilkes-Barre Scranton. That was a real quality play. They did have a power play on that overtime, but we'll give it to him anyway. So I think, he's slowly getting there, but he's not where he needs to
No,
be yet.
he's not
Now,
impressing.
no, not entirely. Now, some of the other guys that sort of impressed early, like Alexei Gendron, had 2 goals on Wednesday. That second goal was a rocket, by the way. A
Yeah.
really great goal. Should go back and take a look at it. But he was very much less noticeable on Friday overall. No
Yeah.
points on Friday or Saturday. So he's got to be a little bit more consistent.
He does. He does. He can't just have like one good game. Like he's a goal scorer. Like he's got to be one of their top goal scorers. Or because again, if he thinks he's going to make it to the NHL and he can't put up, let's say, 30 goals in the AHL, he's probably not going to make it.
Oscar Eklund didn't have any points this weekend. Jacob Gaucher has not scored since the hat trick. No points this weekend. So that's not great. But on the upside, Rodrigo Abels, a goal and 2 assists for the weekend, and a goal and 1 assist of that was against Hershey. He definitely stood out in that game.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's good.
I suppose it's hard not to, given who they had left. But
Right.
finally, Elliot Denoye had his first goal of the season on Friday.
Which is crazy.
Totally crazy, but a really great backdoor opportunity that
Yeah.
if you didn't punch it home, like there would have been a problem.
Right. Then it's like, okay, this guy, something's wrong.
Yeah. J.R. Avon, too, is on the struggle bus here. He's
Yeah.
goalless so far this season. He only has 3 assists, and that is something to keep
That's
an eye on,
worrisome.
because he is sort of was seen as a potential future center for a call up. That's not looking like it'll happen anytime soon. And he was one of the stronger prospects, I think, last year.
Yeah.
So that is somebody I'm concerned about.
Yeah, with good right. I mean, he's got to be better. He just has to be better. He has talent. He has some speed. Like we've seen him play, and he looks good in games, but he's got to put it together.
Yeah, I think that is going to be a huge issue. Like Zayd Wisdom is goalless, but I'm less
Yeah.
worried because like
It's not his thing anymore.
it's not his thing, and we're kind of moved on
Right.
in some ways from him in terms of
Right.
any NHL
Expectations.
potential
Yeah.
there. But I think, one of the saving graces here has been new addition Ben Gleason. I think especially given the call-up situation, to have a defenseman like him with the Phantoms is going to be really important. He had a 7-game point streak that ended Saturday that included his last couple of games with Bakersfield onto the Phantom. So he had 2 assists on Wednesday and an assist on Friday. He got the power play 1 quarterback slot on the team and has been executing pretty well. I mean, I said like the power play only scored 1 of 8 chances, but in terms of watching the puck movement and cycling, I think he's fitting in pretty nicely with the Phantoms power play unit there. So I think, all things being equal in terms of trading away Adder for Ben Gleason, I think we got somebody at least as good as Ronnie Attard, if not maybe a little better in the immediate short term right
Well,
now.
he's better. He's like a seasoned AHL guy right now. That's what he is. So it's better in that regard. Yes.
Yeah, and I think he's made the adjustment as best as he could. The game is a little bit different out west. I would say in the AHL, it's a little bit more of a skill game in the western side of the AHL as opposed to the east, which is a lot more grindy, a lot more
Right. Right.
physical, a lot more fights. So I think that is something that always will take a while, but I think he's starting to fit in pretty well.
Yeah, and that's good. I mean, that's, again, a lot of times with trades, sometimes you're just fortifying your AHL squad, and we knew he would do that. So in that regard, that was good for them.
Yeah, Ethan Sampson got his second goal of the season on Friday, so
Probably
that's
should have
good.
a little
He's
more, but it's all right. That's okay.
Yeah, it's important for him to get going a little bit, especially
Yeah.
again, given the call up and injury situation for the Flyers. They're gonna depend on him a lot more on the Phantoms as well.
Yeah, I mean, thumbs down to Oscar Eklund. Two thumbs down for him. He needs to really show something. Abels has been pretty good.
Yep.
And I think, you could see that maybe like in a couple weeks he's really going to pick it up. I don't know about Eklund. I don't know what's happening with him.
Yeah, that's definitely something to keep an eye on. The Phantoms only have 2 games this week. They are both at Providence, so they're heading up to Rhode Island for
It's
this
nice this time of
week.
year. Fall foliage and
Yeah,
all.
so we'll see how
Whatever's
they
left of it.
do,
Hmm.
and we'll talk about it next Tuesday on the show. That will do it for today. Thanks so much for listening. Of course, tomorrow on the show, like I said, we'll have our mailbag segment, so make sure to get those questions in. You can email us at lockedonflyers@gmail. Let us know on any of our socials at Locked On Flyers or comment on our YouTube channel. I'm Rachel. I'm on Blue Sky and Twitter at rmiriam. That's RMIRIAM.
I'm Russ. I'm on the same outlets at Sportsology. That's SPORTSOLOGY.
Thanks for making Locked On Flyers your first listen today. For your next listen, find Locked On Fantasy Hockey. Become a fantasy hockey expert and get the edge over your league mates with daily tips from Steal and Flip. Find Locked On Fantasy Hockey on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Have a great day, everyone.